Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat Podcast on the Serious Angler Network, presented by Rec Lending. And guys, today we've got a great show lined up, kicking it still out to the West Coast. West Coast is a big part of my fishing, and certainly have a passion for it. And so does this guest we've got on. We're going to be talking with the one and only Mr. Billy Egan about One Bass, about the most recent event, kind of 2024, the commingling with qualifications with Bassmaster. In addition to, he did drop the 2025 schedule, which is great to see this early and have guys kind of prepare for 2025. So, without further ado, let's bring him in. Billy, what's going on?
Hey Adam, how are you? Good to have it. Thanks for having me on the show. It's good to be on.
No doubt, man. Well, it's glad you're here, and I'm sure you are kind of recouping after an event down at Havasu. I'm sure it was pretty hot. It looked like a bunch of wind, man. Holy cow! I saw some pictures of just torn down stuff. How were things at Havasu?
Havasu was. It's always nice to be out at Havasu. May is a great time of year to be out there. I was there for basically 2 weeks straight because the weekend prior to the Arizona Open, we had our 42nd anniversary Striper Derby that we hold out there every year. 122 boats fishing for striped bass. It's a 2-day tournament for accumulated weight, 10 fish each day. I think 79 pounds won that. The 10-pound striper was that, and basically went home for one day to say goodbye to a family member and also see my mom before Mother's Day, and then drove right back out to Havasu to stay there a whole nother week. And it was an amazing event. The fishing was great. The wind, which is always my nemesis, nothing I can do about it, but it was very beautiful out. The conditions during the fishing days were nice. But I think it was Thursday night we had gotten back to the house that we were staying at, the crew, and we're in the backyard just relaxing and kind of putting the day behind us and watching this storm front come hundreds of miles away over the mountains, and colors and lightning, and oh, this is so cool. Little winter, spring squall going on, and it got closer and closer, and it started raining, and then the wind started. One of our staff members looked at me and goes, "What about the easy ups?" And so we literally grabbed our keys and raced the 15 minutes down to the Riviera Marina in hopes to save our easy ups. But we had one of the anglers camping on the site, being our security guy, who was out there trying to wrestle for the easy ups that had gone up in the air with cement blocks on them and turned into pretzels. And he's like, "How did you guys know?" And we're like, "We unfortunately didn't know soon enough. We were too busy lamenting on how beautiful it was." But we were able to piece them back together. The stage kind of stage banner broke, and I don't know if you saw. And I think it was day 3. The banner actually fell on over my head as we were actually weighing fish, and then
Oh,
did everything. And or that was day 2, and day 3 we redid the stage again. So it was fun, but that's part of running bass fishing tournaments is learning how to adjust to all the different things that you're faced with.
sure, no doubt. You got to adjust on the fly, and gosh, Mother Nature certainly likes to throw curveballs. And out west, we don't have tornadoes per se, but we certainly have wind, especially on desert fisheries, on any fishery. But gosh, the desert fisheries, there can just be days where things can get dangerous fast, of course. And so, glad there wasn't any major damage with any of that, and you were able to push through and get things done.
Yeah, it was an awesome event, 3-day event. Joey Uribe from Bridgeford Foods ended up winning that one. It's his second Arizona Open title in a few years now. So he obviously does real well at Lake Havasu, and his family does real well. We had some great guys, vying for that title. When we did our final weigh-in with the top 10 guys, and Micah Jones was right there in second place, and it's just really cool breaking it down to the last few minutes and having those final guys come across the stage and build that um, momentum and that just excitement to see who's going to take down the title and win that Rangers E518 with the Mercury 150 with power pull charger and Bioenit battery and DD26 products and all of our great sponsors. It was good. It was my fourth tournament in 5 weeks basically. And so it took me a couple days to recuperate after getting back. My skin is finally breathing again with the moisture in the air down here by the beach, and I'm feeling normal. But it was great to be out there. The fishing was good. I got an opportunity to go out in my Ranger boat, do some night fishing when the guys were sleeping, and catch a few nice bass as well. And then fish the Anglers Marine appreciation tournament, which was Saturday right after my tournament, because my roommate purchased a Ranger boat a couple years ago from them, and well, I wasn't able to use mine because it's not a purchased boat.
Sure,
So
sure.
just that and got a top 15th place out of like 90 plus boats and had a great time. It was cool.
Nice. Awesome, man. Good.
It was a good week
Sounds
out
like
there.
you're enjoying it all. Uh,
I am enjoying it. Everything's going on all cylinders. I couldn't be happier with the way things have gone so far this year. Our partnership with Bass Pro Shops, Ranger Boats, a long-standing relationship with Mercury Motors, and running that Rangers E521 at all the events. And when I'm not at events, it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
yeah, no doubt, man. That's great to hear. I think one thing I've always because one bass, well, just Western outdoor news, right? You run so many different tournaments outside of bass, and everything, of course, that I'm following and concerned with is the bass fishing stuff. But what's your favorite tournament to run? Is it the bass stuff? Is it the tuna stuff? Is it what is in your eyes like
Ooh,
this is
that's
the
a tough
one?
one. My favorite to run. I'm partial to the Wombass events. They, to me, have become my well, from the very beginning when I got hired for three freshwater events, two trout events, and the striper derby. But I kept telling him, "Hey, I want to get involved with Wombass," and that's when Harvey Naslin was still had come back in 2010 to help when Bill Hutchinson had left to go to Angler's Choice. And so I was all in on the Wombat stuff. And then before I knew it, Harvey turned over the reins to me at the 2010 US Open, and it's been full blast ever since. But uh, the Cabo jackpot is a close second because, I mean, who doesn't like going to Cabo and having a good time? The mantra of that tournament is fish hard and party harder. So it's always a great time. Good people. We actually had one of the this gentleman called Wahoo Ted, who fishes the Cabo Tuna jackpot every year and specifically targets Wahoo down there. Had heard the cry for triple A's at Havasu, and he's like, "I love what you guys do in Cabo. Never bass fish, but I'm going to sign up." So he signed up as a triple. Literally didn't have any rods and reels, just had the will and the want to do it. So I'm like, sign up. Here's what you need to do: go to the tackle shop, get a basic couple rod and reel combos, some baits. John Galvin set him up, and then I gave the pros that he got paired with a little fair warning that he's a saltwater guy, but he had a blast. He's like, "I'll be back every time," and that's typically the response from people that fish our Wombass events. It's so much fun. The shared weight format brings such a different angle to the event compared to the other organizations who don't do shared weight. And it's not to say that everybody has a blast, because there are personality issues and things like that. You never know who or what's going to rise up when you pair two people on a boat together. But
Sure.
um, it's great. The friendships, the customers that we have that fish all of our events are just, they've become family, if you will, over the years.
No doubt. It's just such a unique format. I mean, you just don't see it. The only other place that I've heard, and I may have shared this with you, that I've heard of the shared weight format progressing is in Canada. I
Yes.
fished a tournament, um, and I've drawn different Canadian anglers throughout the years, fishing Toyota Series or wherever across the country as a co-angler, and that's what kind of people have talked about is like that's the only other place. It's like the West in Canada, and it's just it sure seems like, especially in today's world, there's clearly a demand for it, right? I mean, out west, I think that it's apparent, right? I mean, we're looking at boat draws. So Havasu had 122 boats. Clear Lake had 177. Shasta had 156. Those are big numbers for out west. And I'd be curious, you're especially too, for as long as you've been doing this, is that what do those numbers look like to you long term with tournaments out west for Juan Bass?
Well, I was able to watch the show that you did the other day with Alan Gray and Ken Ma about the MLF stuff
Mhm.
going on right now, and um, uh, it was a good show. And the whole time I've been doing this since 2010, and listening to that show, it's kind of hard to sit back and listen to that and the state of the West and how the economy is affecting things when we are truly drawing phenomenal numbers and have been since before 19. It's not something new. Wombass has been killing it for years, and we're continuing to kill it. And I'm very proud of that. Proud that we're able to give our sponsors events that are well attended and give the opportunity for these guys to win contingency monies based on the minimum numbers of boats required, and continue to do that. My job is to make sure that we don't get um, too comfortable with where we're at, because like that show, MLF or BAM or whoever it is out there, they're always going to try and figure out how to create the same sauce that we've been creating, and try to duplicate it. And somebody's always going to be after the guy who's currently, at the top of the mountain, if you will. And so, in order to stay at the top of the mountain, you have to stay relevant. You have to keep bringing in new things. This partnership that we had with Bassmaster this year really invigorated the Western anglers. I just got off the phone with Chris Bowes, and they mentioned how their membership numbers have certainly increased out west, especially in
Oh,
California,
cool.
because of the opportunity to qualify through Wombass in our events. We've currently qualified 15 pros from our three events that we've had, and 15 co-anglers that are going to go to the 2025 Bass Nation Championship. No entry fee event, and over $300,000 in payouts, and the top three guys in the pro side get to go to the classic. So the opportunity to partner with Bassmaster, to partner with Bass Pro Shops, Ranger Boats, Mercury Motors, to have 5 boats at every tournament to give away is, in this market, unheard of. You can't touch that. And that's one of the reasons, if not many reasons. I mean, I'm as competitive as the rest, and probably even more. So I am trying to make sure that what we do and how we do it keeps us at the top. And I think it resonates with the angler base out here. When they see investment versus return, we have the highest payout there is in the West. I mean, this last tournament we just ran at Havasu was 111% payout on the pro side. So,
Okay, so when you say 111%, I'd assume that's including the
it's
prize
including the
boat
prize boat. So
value.
if you take
Okay.
all the entry fees that the pros paid,
Yep.
and then add the payout money that we pay out in the top, 24 1 and 5 payout structure, plus the $55,000 boat value, which is that Ranger Z518, which increased by 10,000 based on the boats we were giving away the previous year.
Okay.
And the big fish money, the big stringer money, contingencies. Some of the organizations are including what that angler is going to win from their boat contingency, and if we were to do the same, Joey Ribe essentially took home over $87,000 for winning a 120 boat field in Havasu with his
Mhm.
$10,000 contingency money from his boat manufacturer.
Texas. Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay.
$77,000 in cash and prizes plus his $10,000 contingency, gave him an opportunity to win 87,000 bucks.
Not bad. Not
Not
bad at
bad.
all.
No. So typically the 150 boat field payout would be $15,000 for first place plus the $55,000 boat motor package. But because we had 120 entries, which was basically 20% less than a full field, the payouts kind of come down, but we still pay out 111% on the pro side. So it's a
Okay.
flat
And
80% on it's flat 80% on the pro side that we pay back in dollars and a
okay.
flat 70% payback on the AAA side. But when you add that $55,000 boat on the pro side, it bumps that payout way up.
Sure, sure, to that top guy. Well, I appreciate you being open and honest about that. I've always, I do my own kind of calculations looking at tournaments. I'm just a numbers guy, right? So I have business from the Best Boat Show, but I like looking at percentage payout and stuff, and it's great to hear that. Just like here's what it is: 80% payback, cash, then prize
There's
stuff.
not, yeah, we've got nothing to hide. We have a successful system, and it's been the same way for years. And we're proud of it, and we're going to continue to do that with our partners and our um, the people who help us be successful. And like I said, we're firing on all cylinders. Our media for all the anglers and the events has improved. Our coverage of the events, the live broadcast. We've really refined how we're presenting our events and our anglers to the industry now. And
Yeah.
those are things
Well, that's
we're going to continue to work on.
talk a little bit about that. I've noticed an additional media coverage in 2024 from being on the outside in. That's something that I think as anglers with sponsors and that coverage aspect, live weigh-ins great, and all this is and that is always something that seems to be a namesake with one bass, and certainly large numbers of viewers during those weigh-ins when you click on Facebook Live and that kind of a thing. But the photos, I've noticed additional coverage with photos and seems like camera boats and things. I mean, into 2024, talk a little bit about some of those changes or what has been improved and kind of what things are looking like too going into 2025.
Yeah, we realized that over the years we've really refined running events and how to put on an event and work with the partners in that surrounding area. So we identified where we could improve, and one of the ways we could definitely improve and have improved is how we um, get content for our anglers and for our sponsors. So,
Mm.
I believe we were the first ones to ever do a live broadcast out west when Mark Jeffries from Bass Zone came out and started helping us
Yeah.
with Dan O'Sullivan and the crew. And we just kept improving on that. And we knew that by increasing the amount of media we can attain at the events, it just helps not only the events, but the anglers and their sponsorships. So we make sure we've got enough photographers, people who can get out on the water on a boat, not depend on me or my boat to get them out there because we've
Yeah.
got so much going on that there's only a limited amount of time that I used to be able to run out there and get some live coverage, but there's so much stuff going on behind the scenes that we're able to now utilize people who actually either live in the area, have a boat, have some, Chris Stahl in Havasu. We've been using him for a number of years. He's a guy that does a lot of work with the big boats out there, the fast boats. And so each year he lends himself to the event, and we utilize him to get capture the moment, if you will. People on the water catching fish, not only holding fish, after weigh-ins and so forth, but really presenting the event and the opportunity to the public in the best way possible. and
Yeah.
there's always ways to improve, and we're going to continue doing that. Dan O'Sullivan's now on full time with us.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure you've probably seen the press releases. So each day he puts out a press release for each day's results, and prior to the event, goes out to the entire industry. So we brought him aboard to make sure that all the sponsors and industry people know what's going on, so that the different media outlets have something to pick up and to show of what's going on out here in the West as well. The West is alive. The West is killing it right now. Um, and I've said it before. I like Alan Gray. I like Mark Hussein. Uh, but the truth of the matter is, there are only so many boats out west to be able to fish a certain number of events out west. And you keep hearing, well, if they were further separated, if there was more space in between, yes, that helps. But the fact of the matter is, there's only so much financial stability available for these anglers to participate in a certain number of events each year, and they have to
Mm,
pick and choose. And the fact that they have to pick and choose is unfortunate, because there really should be two circuits out west running large events, not three, because it dilutes things. And I'm not taking anything away from MLF, and I'm not taking anything away from BAM, but if, and I've said this for years, if the anglers would just get behind the one that's doing it right and the one they trust the most, our numbers would be astonishing. Because
mhm,
our numbers right now are astonishing. But if the majority just came under the umbrella, we'd have 200 boat tournaments at every event.
mm.
But the grass is greener on the other side, and fisherman's mentality is always, it's like butterfly looking for a shiny object. Oh, what was that? Oh, look at that. I
It's
want
the
to go there.
truth.
It's cool. Just like the baits. I got to have that. I got to try that. I got to throw that.
Yeah.
But
No, exactly. Like the tried and true continues to work, right? In a lot of
yes,
things in life. And so I don't disagree there. And I think you're right. I think the right number, I've thought about this a lot too when it comes to out west, is I don't think it's ever, and this isn't a knock on anything, but it's never a good idea to just have one tournament organization doing everything, because the competition between tournament organizations drives and makes each one better, whether that be, how events are
100%.
run, payouts, coverage, any of that, right, is going to push each other. So I don't disagree. I do think three is a little much for the West, at least at the current state of anglers. It does dilute guys. I think you're dead on there. And I've always wondered what that right fit is for guys. I think where One Bass has really this year been super successful is the true kind of tour, right? Running 5 events, having the qualification too if a guy wants to travel back east, and that sort of a thing with BASS. I think that's an incredible partnership, right? I mean, I think that BASS has said, "Hey, look, we can't afford to slash want to go out west," and totally understand that with our organization. And it's like, what's the best option here to keep um, a leg with the West Coast anglers, and it sounds like it's been a great partnership, and I just hope that continues to expand and gets better, right, over time.
Yeah, like I just got talked to Chris today. They're very happy with everything going on. We're extremely happy with the partnership and how it's laying out. This is a 2-year plan, so this is definitely sticking around. The only thing we can do together is improve upon the first year, with discussions and how we can make it that much better, if you will. But we released our schedule for 2025 early, because I know that
Mhm.
MLF and BAM and all the other organizations have to start getting their dates organized for our DFG Jamboree that we do here in July coming up. I'm only pulling 2 permits in California, Shasta and Clear Lake. So it makes very good sense to put our schedule out, since we are drawing the largest numbers, to give those organizations an opportunity to pick dates that don't conflict. Because
Mhm.
we are, and anglers say it all the time, we wish they'd work together. We are working together. You know, we do communicate. with each other. And by providing them dates this far in advance, I'm hoping it helps them pick good dates that don't string out the anglers and put the events too close together. I listened to that one about Alan Clark and Ken Ma talking about, well, what if they were just back to back and FLW was this week and then Juan was the next week. In theory, that's great, but there's a very small percentage of the anglers who can afford those entry fees and those expenses back to back like that. Yes,
Mhm.
they're already there, but it that number compounds real quick. And
Yeah.
my belief is especially with my schedule, there's only two tournaments out of the five that are within 30 days of each other. And that's because it's
Okay.
kind of unavoidable. The Shasta February one is a month and a half, if not 2 months away from the Clear Lake event. So that gives everybody some time because I've got to go back to the Classic in March, and I was trying to consider squeezing one in there in March and just doing, February, March, April, May, and having it done. But it would be great for us, but not for the anglers.
Sure.
Back to back to back
Sure.
like that is impossible. So we try to spread ours out as much as possible. Shasta is going to be February 5th through the 7th again. Clear Lake will be April 9th through the 11th next year. Havasu, we're going to go back in May because it makes sense for us since we're already there for our Striper Derby to put the Havasu Open right behind it for us because it's two separate
Yeah.
clients and we're already there and don't have to come back. And the fishing's great and the weather's not too bad. May is always traditionally a good time weather-wise. It really starts getting hot end of May, early June, where it's miserable out there.
Right.
But and then mead is the great unknown. As of right now, the water's going down at Mead. Been in communications with Colville Bay, and a couple of weeks ago is the same level it was the last time we ran a U.S. Open in 2019 there. But this time of year, they always draw water out, and any indication of what Havasu was with high waters, we know exactly where that water's coming from. It's coming from upstream.
Hmm.
But in August, they typically raise the water again into Mead. So once we are able to get there this year and get things kind of get our toes wet with the September event, we'll know more better, if you will, how to plan for 2025. If there isn't a significant increase in water during the winter time, then we know that we're going to be exactly where we're at right now because they're going to draw water down again and it's going to be a struggle. So that's why in the 2025 schedule, the September one says Mead Mojave. Once we are able to determine what the water levels will be, we'll distinguish which one will be there, and then the other, the U.S. Open will be at the other. If September ends up being Mead, then the U.S. Open will be Mojave. If it ends up being Mojave, then U.S. Open will be Mead. So it's just important to put those dates out there so guys can plan on that because a lot of guys need to put their vacation requests in long in advance, depending
Sure.
on what job they have.
I'm always all for tournament organizations putting schedules out as soon as possible. So this is certainly refreshing from that perspective. I mean, so just again to reiterate specific dates, Shasta's February 5th through the 7th, which that's just a cool. I've never fished Shasta ever, and that's one to me that just makes so much sense because in a lot of parts of the world, in the West, not necessarily your California, Arizona, but your any of your Northern California, your and anything north and west from that perspective, like you've got nothing going on as far as fishing happens, right? It's February,
Yeah,
it's the first event
Your
of the year.
Oregon, your Washington, your Idaho guys, they're all in Montana, they're all in snow. They're like, hey, I can go to Shasta for a week and fish at Shasta in the rain and maybe a little bit of snow, and maybe a little bit of hail.
Yeah, yeah,
This year we got a little bit of all of it, but the fishery is so phenomenal, and Bridge Bay Marina is such a great facility to run an event out of, and the support we got from Reading and will continue to get from Reading is refreshing. I mean, I hadn't run a Shasta event since 2012, I think it was, and
okay,
even though it was wet and miserable, if you will, and chilly, it was a blast. It was so beautiful out there. The fishing was phenomenal. The scenery is ungodly. It's just gorgeous up there. I'm actually
Yeah.
gonna try and plan a trip. My son's gonna be getting out of school here soon to take the Ranger boat up there, revisit Shasta, actually get to have some good weather fishing, go visit Clear Lake, maybe Berryessa and a couple other lakes and make a 3 or 4 lake trip out of it for a week and have a good time up there. But Shasta is unbelievable. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
February 5th, 6th, and 7th of 2025 at Lake Shasta out of Bridge Bay Marina. Don't book your reservations yet. I still need to get my rooms first
Yeah.
for me and my staff.
Like,
Clear Lake will be April 9th, 10th, and 11th, which we found is a
unreal.
phenomenal time of year
Yeah.
for Clear Lake. Great weights, great fishing, good weather. And then Havasu, after this year's successful event in May, is going to be May 7th, 8th, and 9th, which again is a great time of year to have a fishing event there. A lot of guys are like, oh, Mead's insane in May. I'm like, yes, it is, but it would be very difficult for me to leave Striper Derby on a Sunday and start registration on a Monday at Lake Mead. So just for our schedules and our sanity, especially running basically in 2025, we will have 3 events in 3 weekends. So we'll
Got
have
it.
our trout event at Lake Hemet the weekend before, the Havasu Striper Derby, and then the Havasu Open. So it wasn't all too much to do this year, and so I kind of planned it that way because you hammer them out, you get them done, and then you got a little bit of a break, which everybody's like, oh, you don't have anything to do till September, Bill. And I'm like, yeah, what about all the permits I got to deal with, all the venues I got to deal with, all the marketing, promotions? It never stops. Because
Right.
even when I'm done planning for Mead, Mojave, and Cabo Tuna Jackpot, I got to start all over with the following year. So it never
The
ends,
next
but
year.
it's I love what I do. Love the company I work for, the people I work with. It takes a village to put these events on. Nothing I can do solely on my own. Our staff, the Purdie family, I couldn't do it without them, and the volunteers that we have. It's a good family to have.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah, it's interesting really across the country. I think when it comes to fishing tournaments, there is always that break kind of after June. Unless you're talking about the Northeast fisheries, right? You're talking about your Champlain and St. Lawrence River, like those places are hit in July and in August, but like there's always that 2 month summer lull in my eyes, maybe 3 month summer lull in most parts of the country where it's just like it is freaking hot out and
Right.
and
Well,
fishing's tough. The
for a
fish
few
is
reasons out here in California, there's no tournaments. There are tournaments. There are some club tournaments and other small team tournaments that will run June through early September. But at least in California, the Department of Fish and Game, June 15th through September 15th, there are no permits for more than 6 hours allowed because of the low oxygen levels in the warmer water and the lakes that we have. The fish mortality is a lot higher, so that they determine that for no more than 6 hours can a fish be in a live well. So a lot of guys don't want to fish 6 hour tournaments, so we don't put tournaments on during that time of year. Let alone the desert lakes. I mean, it's near impossible to keep those fish healthy during that time of year in live wells, no matter what treatment protocol you use. It's just not good for the fishery. Which is another subject not many people talk about, which is our fisheries and the amount of take that's actually taken from our lakes out here, which is a very small number because you know, we've all done such a great job of catch and release and promoting catch and release, but in actualities, a lot of these lakes would benefit from a take system. Some 2 to 3 pounders need to be culled out of that lake so that there's growth opportunities for the fish that remain because it's a topic. It's hard with the Department of Fish and Game. They know this, but they can't go out and promote it because the promotion is catch and release during an event and taking care of the resources. But I wish that there was more research, more information on how we could benefit these lakes by having a certain amount of take from them. Because I don't know
Yeah,
if anybody's ever owned an aquarium, you put a certain amount of fish in it, they're only going to grow to a certain size because the environment will only allow for that. It's the same thing for a lake, no matter how big it is. You reach that carrying capacity for fish, and the fish are going to hurt on an even level across the board.
yeah, it's really interesting to me because so on the show recently, I had a guy out of Texas with private water fishing, right? And they're talking about managing could be a 1 acre pond, it could be a 70 acre lake, it could whatever, but they're private fisheries that are managed, and that is a huge part of their protocol is taking out a certain amount of pounds of bass of those younger of the year age class to grow that larger age class. And I totally agree. A lot of these fisheries, right? There's just a vast number of small fish, and then it kind of cannibalizes things. And I wonder too. It's just really hard messaging, right? Because when you look at
Right.
a big body of water and a diverse group of from people throwing worms into the water off the bank to guys tournament fishing and there's just a huge number of anglers out there to where it is a tough thing to like how do you regulate that without presenting a message of like hey let's kill all these small ones so I yeah I agree with you though
It's
that
a
it's the
topic that
same thing.
should be talked about more. And, as far as I'm concerned, I am all for having a conversation with the powers that be. And maybe the solution is utilizing the tournament organizations to help with that, you know, because we're processing a lot of fish and maybe we help them with a certain amount of fish that are caught between whether it's what do you call it, the slot limit or something that they're, hey, instead of returning these fish back, we count them as they came in alive. The anglers did their job. Here's fish. You guys handle them, do what you want with them. Whether they plant them somewhere else that's deficient would be the ultimate solution is, hey, let's show up. We'll take those fish and we'll put them somewhere where they're needed and help both lakes at the same time. But we're always here
Right.
to help. We're all conservationists. Bass fishermen is the largest group of freshwater conservationists there is. So it's a good thing for us to do and to maintain our lakes, but maybe there's things that we could do a little bit better to help the lakes a little bit more.
Sure, no doubt. No, I think that's all good conversations to be having, and the West is unique in their fisheries. I mean, to me, it's gosh, some of the best in the country and the best landscapes in the country to be fishing on. So certainly want to maintain and preserve that. And hope to see the tournament scene continue to grow and expand and have that connection with the rest of kind of the country, right?
Yeah.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from the guys that have qualified now for the 2025 Bassmaster Championship? Now you've got 15 qualifiers, and then we can talk about kind of the last. What there's 10 more guys that can qualify. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So we've got, some really quality name guys. And this was the whole reason and the excitement behind the announcement was, you know, whether they're fishing won bass or any of the other organizations, we have some of the best sticks out here. Just look at some of the elite guys who started out west who are fishing there and succeeding and doing well. I'm very proud to be able to give our Western anglers an opportunity to go shine at this 2025 Bass Nation Championship. I mean, if you look at the videos of the guys that we interview after the tournaments that have qualified, like Todd Klein and Joe Uribe and Roy Hawk and Kurt Dove, he just did a show with Pangrak about his qualifying and how cool it was and why he decided to come out west and fish instead of the traditional events that you fish from Texas or so forth. And to hear somebody like Kurt Dove say that the fisheries out here out west are so unique and so exciting to fish,
right.
it makes us feel great because they are. We all know it. And the fortunate thing, and one of the things he mentioned is, since we do have water, when we get water, our fisheries always improve and the fishing improves. And we've seen that not only at Clear Lake, we saw it at Shasta, we've seen it now at Havasu. And the landscapes, like I said, Shasta, most probably one of the most beautiful lakes I've ever fished on. Uh, because you have the mountain, the red soil, the big redwood trees, and then you compare that to the Narrows and Lake Havasu and the river, and the Narrows at Lake Mead. It's like I call it fishing on the moon when you're out in the desert. At Lake
So
Mead
cool.
or Lake Mojave, it's like fishing on the moon. It's the only thing you can kind of equate it to. It's just super unique. And each fishery is different, and each fishery, poses different challenges to the anglers. But again, somebody will always make the right decisions for 3 days to get themselves in a winning position. And we're just glad to give those guys an opportunity to do so. So we've qualified 5 pros from Shasta, Nick Wood, and a few of the guys that got it there. I think that's where Joe Uribe originally got his first invite. And then you got Austin Bonjour and a few of Joe Mariani and a few of the other guys that got it at Clear Lake. And now you've got Todd Klein, Roy Hawk, Jerry Ballesteros, Zach Hayes, and the guys that got it here, and Micah Jones. When you talk to them, they can't wait. They are so stoked to qualify for this opportunity and to have a platform to give them an opportunity to go chase the big dream without having to upset their families, the kids, and leave for such extended periods of time to go chase that dream. And they can now do it in their backyard through utilizing our events. So yes, we've qualified 15 pros and 15 codes so far through our 3 regional events that we've completed. Our next regional event is the Lake Mead Open in September, where 5 more pros will qualify and 5 more co-anglers will qualify. And then the unique part is the U.S. Open in October ends our Bridgeford Foods Angler of the Year race. They've got $10,000 up for grabs for the Angler of the Year prize money, and then Power Pole has some Power Pole items that are valued around $5,000 that were given to second place, and then Lawrence is also kicking in some major products for third place, so that first, second, and third are winning some pretty cool stuff. Let alone the top 5 pros and co's who get top 5 Angler of the Year points also qualify for the Bass Nation Championship. Now, you and I were talking earlier, based on if it was to end today with the Angler of the Year race currently, there's 4 or 5 of the top 10 guys that have already qualified. So
Mm.
uniquely, we're going to be able to drop down that Angler of the Year list to qualify 5 more guys. And then the original top 5 guys in Angler of the Year, whether they've qualified one way or the other from another event, are going to get those held EQ spots for 2025 to go fish the Bass Opens if they so choose. Which, with everything going on in the market and MLF and Bass, those things could be gold
Could
next
be
year.
worth some stuff. That's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, they're not entry fees. It's just a held door says this is your open door, your opportunity to go fish the EQs. So, we'll be running the same program with our 2025 schedule, qualifying another 25 pros and another 25 co's to the 2026 championship. I've actually was talking to Chris Bose today about their scheduling of the 25 Bass Nation Championship, and hopefully avoiding some of the dates that we have coming up. Our 25 dates plus my 2025 Cabo tournament that I do the first week of November, so that we can all fire on all cylinders and all be there. Because the cool thing to me is the 2025 Bass Nation Championships going to turn their head when they see this group of guys show up from the West. And my prediction is they're going to do really, really well in the tournament, no matter where it's at, and make a big difference, make a big um, footprint, if you will, on that event. And then it will show everybody who's now fishing 25 when we're in next year's season what this is all about with the league. Because there's still, so what is it? What am I qualifying for? And we had three AAAs at Havasu that got top fives. And I'm like, so did you do the qualifications? They're like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, wait a minute. How could you not have heard about this promotion that we're doing and partnership that we did? No, I over all the text messages, all the social media,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, they weren't qualified, so we had to go down the list. But each one of them said, "I will be qualified for meet. It's on me, my fault, my bad, uh, but I will take care of it, and I will qualify for meet. So if I get a top five there, I will get my invite." So
There you go.
information dissemination. What time is the registration? Where's the meeting? Hmm. My answer is usually, I wonder why I pay for a website. Why did I
Yeah,
develop a
exactly.
website when it's all right there?
Right. Right.
But it's a labor of love.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Well, that's great, man, and I'm glad to hear. I think what'll be cool about that is kinda like I've always felt like the West has had a really strong brotherhood of anglers and, all traveling together to go to that event, will be a super cool experience for those guys, there's no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm working on some things to see how we can help those guys get there. We, meaning us and our sponsors, because obviously sending a group of 25 guys is going to make an impact, and if we can get everybody wearing unified jerseys, if you will, as West Coast representatives and the West Coast team, if you will,
Mm.
it's going to show a lot of goodwill, and it's going to show that we're all in it to win it out west here, and to
Yeah,
show everybody how much talent we have out here.
no doubt. Well, so let's talk now the fall swing of 2024 of this year,
Yeah,
right? Next event is gonna be Mead, kinda the rekindled Mead, haven't been to Mead because of water levels, so that I think is just super unique, because of the time frame of it traditionally being kind of that US Open grinder derby, right? It's that similar setup,
similar.
um
Yeah,
yeah, talk a little bit about
that's
that.
when the U.S. Open used to be in September years ago. Obviously, it was in July as well, which was miserable. But September can be too. But September traditionally was a time that the U.S. Open used to be held at Lake Mead. Because the waters come up in August, typically September is a good time to hope that things are well enough for us to run a smooth event. We'll run a smooth event. It'll be a good event. It matters how much information we're going to have to give to these guys in preparation. Prior planning prevents, the saying, get on the water early. But it's unique because we're going to have to kind of do things a little different than we have in the past. Um, the opportunity to do the weigh-ins on the water right now aren't really there because Caldwell Bay is so spread out with the new marina and having to extend it every time the water goes out. They're utilizing all of their resources. And I've already talked to them about the possibility of doing it on the water like we did in 2019, but they don't have any available extra walkways, if you will, that we were able to create a platform in 2019 to do the weigh-in. So I'm working with NPS and Colville to utilize that lower water level parking lot that's closest to the ramp to put our trailer there with some generators so that it's closer to the water, easier to deal with the transfer of the fish, easier on the fish. To do a weigh-in right there in that lower parking lot and utilize the space that we do have with the current layout of the marina. And hopefully, we get a big wet winter and they get a lot of water. And I was just on Google Earth today checking the marina out and trying to find out if what I'm looking at is consistent
Up to
with
date.
what's still there right now,
Yeah.
because Google Earth is always a little off on when they took those pictures. But it's just planning, and we'll come up with a good plan. We'll get probably I'm guessing over 150 boats at that tournament because the excitement of getting back to Mead. The fishery is doing really, really well right now. The tournaments that are held out there really catching some good fish, and people are excited to get back to Mead. And we still get. You need to move the open back to Mead. Believe me, it's where we want to be. We just have to have the right conditions to make it happen. And our
Sure.
partners in Laughlin, Visit Laughlin and uh, the Chamber of Commerce out there, they're doing a hell of a good job supporting the event and us being there. So uh, you hear people say, "Oh, they've been bought." They Laughlin's bought them. There's no truth to that. It helps, that's for sure, that we have the support because we're able to get the big stage. We're able to do the big expo in the tent. I'm actually working on some stuff with them right now to hopefully come up with a Saturday night country concert, if you will, meet and greet the night prior to our expo because they've got some availability to put on some different events that hopefully draw a general public out there. So one of the ideas is if we put this concert on with a couple different well-known people and you book a room at any of the 8 hotel partners, it's a free concert Saturday night for you. All you got to do is stay at one of the 8 partner hotels. And then, Bass Pro Shops is talking about sending out some big name personalities, to really make something like this work. So we're always trying to tweak things out, trying to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit better every year. And that support helps immensely.
Yeah. Love it. I think that's just continuing with what you're saying as far as just tweaking and making things better over time and just continuing to increase that stuff. And so
Yeah. So meeting
US Open,
meeting September 18th, 19th, and 20th, and then the US Open is October 14th, 15th, and 16th of this year. And then we will, end our Angler of the Year race at the U.S. Open, provide the awards at the awards ceremony for the U.S. Open for both the U.S. Open and the Angler of the Year. And then I'll be on a plane to Cabo to run the Cabo 2 to Jackpot and come right back to start all over with the trade shows, ISE, PCS, the Bard Hall shows, the Classic, Shasta, start all over again.
you name it. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, great to
Yeah.
hear and great to hear your take on the West, Billy, and how well One Bass is doing drawing boats. I don't think that's it's clear as day, right? When you look at the numbers of boats being drawn right now out west and where stuff is happening, and certainly wish you continued success and continue with the partnership with Bass because I think that really does a lot for Western anglers and. Can't wait to look at 2025 and of course the US Open, everything
Hopefully you're at a few of
exciting.
those events in 25.
I know it, man. I know.
And
I
maybe even the
listen.
US Open this year. I know you're talking a little bit about it. US Open, baby.
Yeah, that's the one that like that is just a historic thing, man. I mean, that one is just it's super cool and yeah, I've only fished Mojave uh once, but it was awesome. Gosh, it was so cool. Such a cool
It's
fishery
a
and
special
just
fishery. It is.
so
It's
special and
special. They've got good smallmouth, really good largemouth. It's a phenomenal fishery. Laughlin is so close. It's 15 minutes away. All the hotels. Catherine's Landing is a phenomenal facility, just like the Havasu Riviera Marina that we just had our Arizona Open at. If you guys are Havasu enthusiasts or anybody out there looking for a place to go, check out Havasu Riviera Marina, check out Catherine's Landing, Colville Bay, Bridge Bay, and Lakeport. We work with the best ones in the business. It's a pleasure.
it's awesome. Awesome. All right, Billy. Well, man, I hope you continue to recuperate, enjoy the trip with your son, and getting out of school and going and chase some fish in Northern California. Great time to be there, and the scenery and the fishing should be phenomenal. So enjoy that, man, and I'm sure we'll be chatting down the road and get you on again here shortly.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me on, and we appreciate it. And the West is won. Remember that.
I like it. I like it. All right, man. Have a good rest of your day.
Take care. Have a good
See you.
memorial day.